Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Summer Abroad information session for the 2025 Mexico program. It's great to see that we have so many students joining us today. So we'll start with a brief land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So we'll start with some introductions. My name is Genevieve Steidman, and I'm the program coordinator for the Mexico program. I'm also joined today by my colleague, Selena Chang, who's also a program coordinator in our office, and she'll be helping out on the back end and with any Q&A questions that we have going forward. And I'm thrilled to have with us today the professor for the course that you're interested in, Professor Andrea Cortinois. He will be speaking shortly about the academic content of the course. So we'll start with a brief summer abroad overview. Then we'll look at the program itinerary, some course information. We'll talk about costs and financial assistance, how to apply, and what criteria we're looking for, accessibility and other resources available. And just a couple of notes, the session is being recorded and it will be posted on our website within a couple of days. So if you need to leave early, no problem, you can always view the recording, and we'll also be sending out a link to it. It's also a great way for you to share it with any friends or family who are interested in finding out about the program. So we'll get started with a bit of general information about what Summer Abroad is. So with Summer Abroad, you take a U of T course, and it's taught in one of our many locations abroad. They are very small classes, so they're more a seminar size class. For the Mexico program in particular, it will be a limit of 20 students. So you earn a full Y credit, that's a full credit during just 4 weeks during the summer. So it's a great opportunity to get a credit done. And it's also a very immersive and intensive academic experience because you're actually doing a whole year's worth of work condensed into 4 weeks. So you're really concentrating on the course material. Because it's a U of T credit, it allows you to fulfill program breadth and distribution requirements. And the final grade will show on your record and count towards your CGPA, just like an on-campus course would. So you're not looking at having to get a transfer credit or anything with Summer Abroad. Our courses are taught by U of T faculty as well as international faculty, guest speakers, guides, and so on. It gives you an opportunity to work really closely with your professor and colleagues in the class. And most importantly, to experience what you learn. So Summer Abroad is built around the idea of being out in the field and really looking at and experiencing what you're learning in the classroom. It's a great way to connect with guest speakers, local experts, and just to broaden your horizons. So our offices are located at Woodsworth College, which is on the St. George campus. It's the building behind me here. But our programs are open to all U of T students. So no matter which campus you're at, which faculty you're in, you're eligible for our programs. So some of the why of Summer Abroad. So there are great academic, personal, and professional benefits to be had. As I mentioned, it's a full Y course condensed into 4 weeks of study. And it's a really unique opportunity to focus with your colleagues on just the one course, because you and everyone else in the class are only taking the one course. There's no distractions of having other tests or exams to study for, and you can really become immersed in the experience. And for many students, it's sometimes their first opportunity to take a small class of only 20 or 25 students. So it's a great opportunity to work really closely with your professors and colleagues. We always find that students really appreciate getting to know their professors, especially. Sometimes they will end up asking for a reference letter from that professor because they found that that professor really got to know them and they had a good experience. For personal development, this is something we hear a lot of from our students when we survey them after the program. So many students make lifelong friends in summer abroad because everyone is kind of thrown into this new environment together. Most people don't know anyone else when they sign up for summer abroad. So they really make close friendships during the program. And of course, gaining independence and confidence. For some students, it's the first time that they've lived on their own. For other students, it may be the first time that they've traveled internationally. So it's a great opportunity to gain that independence and that confidence while you're still being supported by Summer Abroad and the resources that we have to help you overcome any issues that come up for you. And it's great for professional benefits. So we hear a lot about employers looking for people who are global citizens, who have international experience. It's a great thing to put on your resume that you lived in another country for 4 weeks, that you studied there with local experts. It's a great skill to have and to highlight for yourself professionally. And of course, we do find students that sometimes are so inspired by their experience in summer abroad, they decide to pursue graduate studies, sometimes at that location. So it can really be an eye-opening experience for a lot of students. So in terms of eligibility, as I mentioned, it is open to all U of T students. You do have to be in good academic standing. So if you are currently on probation, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to apply for this year. You'd have to wait until your standing goes back to good standing. And we do require a CGPA above 1.75. So that's the minimum cutoff. For this particular course, there is a prerequisite. So we'll be looking for 9 full credits. They can be in any discipline, but we do want to see those 9 credits. For students who do not meet the prerequisite, I encourage you to still reach out to me, reach out to us, because there is sometimes flexibility with that. So we're willing to consider all students, but if you don't meet the prerequisite, just reach out to us for some guidance. So this is the first year of the program. It's run in partnership with CSES, who are an organization in Mexico. Just a little brief word about the itinerary. So your first 3 weeks of the program will be in Oaxaca, Mexico, and you can see that there on the map where it's located. So that will be from May 25th is your arrival and move-in day, and then you will stay there until Sunday, June 15th. On Sunday, June 15th, the whole group travels together to Mexico City for the final week of the program. And that flight will be booked by Summer Abroad. So that's an internal flight that you'll be taking as a group from Oaxaca to Mexico City. And then on June 20th is the day that the program ends, and that's when students depart from Mexico City. So before I get into the application details, I'll hand things over to our Professor Cortinois, who can speak a little bit about the course.
Thank you very much, Genevieve. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea Cortinois, and my name reflects my French-Italian background, and it's often quite confusing. So, I have been teaching a course on global migration and health on campus, on St. George campus, for several years now. It is a course in health studies, HST 405H. And it is a course that usually has a receives a very positive feedback from students. And coincidentally, this morning I got the student evaluations, which were quite positive. So the course is not a course on immigrants' health in Canada. That is usually the first thing we think about when we think about the relationship between migration and health. And because of that, it is in fact possible to teach this course in a different setting. Migration is actually a global determinant of health, an increasingly important determinant of health, and it is also related to a number of other really important determinants of health. We start in this course from what might sound like very simple questions. Who are migrants? How many migrants are there? Why do people move? To realize that, in fact, even those questions are not at all simple. How we define migrants has to do with a number of issues that are contentious and that should be problematized. Even knowing how many migrants are there is difficult, not just because of how difficult it is to count people on the move, but also because of how, again, we define migrants, and therefore where we shed the light and which areas remain in darkness. And finally, we have an overview of theories of migration and again, how this phenomenon impacts health. And then we continue with more complex issues related to the lived experiences of migrants, the right that migrants have, the human rights that migrants have. We often hear about the right to move, but what about the right to actually stay and build your life in the place where you were born? That's also an important issue that is more rarely discussed. We'll talk about the meaning of borders. Borders are not natural. There are very few things in this world that are actually natural. We'll talk about cultural, economic, and geographic borderlands, these areas, undetermined areas that are neither here nor there, and where unfortunately many migrants find themselves living. We will talk about the intersectional identity of migrants, how issues like gender and other identifying qualities or characteristics of people intersect with the experience of being a migrant, and how all of this impacts the health of individuals and this population. And we will also focus on a few case studies. When we teach the course in Toronto, we tend to focus on work and migration because it is a really important intersection. You may know that in Ontario, our entire agricultural sector would quite probably collapse if it wasn't for temporary migrant workers, many of whom come from Mexico, coincidentally. And we also talk about the climate change and the environmental crisis and displacement, which is another important issue, and I actually teach an entire course on that. Being in Mexico has some advantages, including the fact that, of course, we can include local case studies, and Mexico is a particularly good setting for a course like this one for a number of reasons. First of all, it's a beautiful country. It's a really interesting country full of history and culture with hundreds of indigenous groups, many of whom, in fact, live around Oaxaca, which will be one of the most visible characteristics of this place that you will be able to experience. It is it's the largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. It is also the country with the largest number of citizens living abroad. So it's traditionally a country of out-migration. However, in recent years, it has also become a really important transit route for migrants and also a country of immigration. So all these bits and pieces come together in one place. And of course, as obvious, it is also a country that borders with sometimes a very difficult neighbor. I mean, let's think about the wall and everything that has been going on over the past few years. So even that is a very interesting entry point to understand the experience of people who, for the most part, look for better opportunities, more opportunities. Mexico also has a very strong academic tradition, great universities, and that the work is in coordination with the federal academic institutions that focuses specifically on social anthropology. The colleagues who will be working with us specialized in issues of health and migration, of course. That is, I think we will have the opportunity to meet people, migrants themselves, people who work to support migrants, people who make policies that have an impact on migration, and people who work at to connect the experience in Mexico with the global experience through UN agencies, United Nations agencies, for example. And that's the rationale for having the last week in Mexico City, that as the main hub of the country gives us that kind of opportunities. And I see that the evaluation methods are used here. So we have a piece. This is really a seminar course. Our contributions are collective. This is an ongoing conversation among all of you and myself, facilitated by myself. So active contribution is really important. There are a number of ways of supporting your mark in active contribution, and we will discuss that in detail. We will have 4 short assignments that are opportunities for reflection on the topics covered over the previous week. And then in small group, we will focus on specific case studies and organize or present our work in class. And then on the basis of the feedback that you receive to improve your work, both from your peers and myself, you will have an opportunity to polish the work and present it in a written form as an essay, as the last requirement for the course.
So moving on, we'll talk about some of the logistics of the program. So in terms of getting to Oaxaca, so students make their own travel arrangements to and from Mexico. What we do is, once students are admitted, we provide a recommended flight to students, and you're free to book yourself onto that flight. We usually find that most students will book themselves onto the recommended flight, but some choose not to if you're either traveling before or after, or if you can find a cheaper flight, up to you. But we do provide a recommended flight for you. So the first flight is the flight in to Oaxaca. So it's actually in 2 parts. May 25th, the recommended flight is Toronto to Mexico City and then to Oaxaca. And then at the end of the program on June 20th, the flight back home is from Mexico City straight to Toronto. So that's what the recommended flight will look like. And as I mentioned, there will be an internal flight that we book for you from Oaxaca to Mexico City. Another thing we do shortly after admission is that we ask for a student to create some sort of social media group so that everyone in the group can start connecting ahead of time. Some students use this as an opportunity to find others to travel with. So there will be that opportunity for you to connect with other students ahead of time. So accommodation and meals. The hotel accommodations will be double occupancy rooms. That will be the case both in Oaxaca and Mexico City. The hotels are good quality. They're not, don't expect like 5-star accommodation. They are reliable budget hotels, and they are arranged with the help of our on-site coordinator who lives in Mexico and is very familiar with Oaxaca, especially, and will be making the hotel arrangements for our group. Breakfasts will be provided at the hotel, but you will have to budget for other meals, lunches, and dinners. We say budget a minimum of $700 for meals. You may want to budget more for that if you'd like to go to nice restaurants, if you'd like to eat out a lot more. But that would be the minimum that we would ask you to budget for meals. So in Oaxaca, we're currently just finalizing the bookings. It looks like you will be staying at Hotel City Centro by Marriott. For the Mexico City hotel, that's just being finalized. Do check our website soon. We will post about the details for the Mexico City hotel as soon as they are available. So I just grabbed some pictures from the hotel in Oaxaca. Feel free to Google that hotel name and look for pictures or reviews yourself. So this is the lobby area. There's another picture of the lobby, just so you kind of get the feel of what it looks like. This is one of the rooms. So as I mentioned, students will be staying in double rooms at the hotel. If you do have any questions about accommodation, feel free to email me as well, or book an appointment, and we can talk about any further questions that you have. And like I said, the website will be updated with more information on the hotels shortly. So moving on to visas and insurance. So students are responsible for making all of their own travel arrangements. For Canadian citizens, you should check the Government of Canada website, which will let you know what the entry requirements are. International students, you would check with the Mexican consulate in Toronto to find out if you need a visa. You can find their website online, and you should be able to find it on their website based on your nationality. We always recommend students to apply in Toronto for their visa because we do provide supporting documentation. Once you're admitted, we provide you more information, and then once you've paid your deposit, we're able to provide a visa letter for you, which explains to the consulate a bit more about the program. It says where you'll be staying. It gives the dates of our program and so on. So that will help you with your application. And we also recommend students purchase or double check the insurance that they have for both travel health and also cancellation insurance for your flights. So for finances, we definitely recommend you start budgeting now, start thinking about your finances for summer abroad. The final payments are due on April 2nd. And we encourage you to apply for the financial awards that are offered through the Summer Abroad office, as well as several external awards, which are offered through U of T, but not through Summer Abroad. So if you look on our website, there's just a screenshot from it. The financial aid tab has a lot of useful information for you about these external awards, like the CIE award, or possibly your own registrar's office may have awards. And it also gives you the criteria for the Summer Abroad awards. There's also a video put together by our director about financing your summer abroad. So we recommend you watch that as well. It's a webinar similar to this one, but it's all about financing your summer abroad. The program is eligible for OSAP. If you're currently on fall/winter OSAP, you just need to apply for the summer extension. But it doesn't cover all of your fees. And also, they only release the funds when the program actually starts, and our fees are due well before then. So it's good for some on-site expenses. It can help you offset some of the costs, but it wouldn't be your only source for summer abroad. So you'll find the details about the costs for the program on our website. So not on the financial aid tab, but when you're within the Mexico program and you click on costs, you'll find the breakdown both for domestic and international students. The only difference is there is a premium on the course fee for international students. So I'm just going to show you what the cost chart looks like, just to walk you through how it works. So some of the fees are paid directly to Summer Abroad. Others are variable costs. We do come up with an approximate total program cost, but it is variable because not all of these fees are paid to U of T. So you would pay your application fee to the Summer Abroad office, your course fee also to Summer Abroad. The U of T incidental fees are the only fees that are actually paid on Acorn. So when we add the course for you onto your Acorn, it will trigger the summer incidental fees, and those you would pay on Acorn. The other fees you would pay directly to Summer Abroad. The airfare cost here, this is based on the recommended flight that we have. Again, you may be able to find a cheaper flight if you're able to, or if you're willing to make more stops along the way. We tried to get the most direct one that we could. So a little bit about the financial aid with Summer Abroad. So as I mentioned, we do encourage you to apply for our internal awards. And this you can do at the same time that you're applying to the program. So it's very easy, it's very streamlined, and we encourage all eligible students to apply for it. There are multiple awards for summer abroad, up to $5,000. So again, it doesn't cover all of your fees, but if you put that together with other sources as well, it can really help you with your finances. So the award criteria for the financial aid summer abroad awards are that you have to be a Canadian citizen, permanent residence, Canadian citizen, PR, or protected person. You have to be a current University of Toronto undergraduate student. You have to have completed at least 4 full credits by this past December. So if you're in first year, you wouldn't be eligible. And you have to have a CGPA of at least 2.25 for the Summer Abroad Awards. Some of them do require a higher academic average. So with the Financial Need Awards, we also ask you to upload proof of financial need, which is usually an OSAP assessment, but it can be other forms as well if you're not on OSAP. So once you submit that application, the awards committee will determine which awards you're eligible for and will make their decisions based on that. There are also some merit-based awards, and these ones are open to all current U of T undergraduate students. Again, you have to be above first year and CGPA of at least 2.25. The merit-based awards, there are fewer of them available. And you apply for them after you've applied to the program. So once you've submitted your summer abroad application, you can go back in and search the merit-based awards and submit a separate application for those ones. So applications opened on December 13th and the deadline is February 3rd. There is a $210 application fee, which you pay through the Summer Abroad website. If you are not selected to the program, you would be refunded a partial refund of $100. If you're applying to multiple programs, so if you either want to participate in another program or you want one as a backup, you do pay a separate application fee for each program that you're applying to. And this is just to give you a look at what the application looks like and to highlight that you want to make sure that you have green check marks next to all of these fields. That way you know that you have completed all of the fields of your application. And then after you've paid, you will make sure that you've actually submitted your application and you will get an email confirmation of that. So the assessment, we do look at multiple factors when we're doing the assessments. So new this year, in addition to the online application, which is all written, we also have a recorded interview questions, which we ask students to complete. These are very general questions. You're not expected to prepare for them. They're not specific to any particular summer abroad program or course. They're really about adaptability and personal experience, how you handle problems, things like that. So that recorded interview, the way it works is once you've paid your application fee, you will receive an individual link. And once you go to that link, a module opens up that allows you to record and complete the interview questions. And it usually takes about 30 minutes or so. So again, once you have paid your application fee, you will receive details about that part of the application. There are also some great how-to videos on our website, which our work study students put together. So I'd advise you to definitely check those out. They can just help you prepare for all the steps that you'll need for your application. So we do look at academic suitability. We do want to make sure that you have at least that minimum CGPA of 1.75. But we also pay a lot of attention to your personal statement, both the written one as well as the recorded interview questions. So because it's not first come, first serve, you don't need to be in a rush to complete your application. Just make sure you have it all completed by February 3rd. So admission decisions will be sent out shortly after the application deadline. So by mid-February, you should hear from us by email. And if you're accepted, you have 1 week to confirm your participation by paying a non-refundable $1,000 deposit. If you've been offered a spot in the program and you decline it, your application fee would not be refunded in that case. And as I mentioned, the remaining fees are due on April 2nd. So along with paying your fees by April 2nd, there's several post-acceptance steps. So we will require more information from you. We will also be providing you with a lot more information. And that will all happen through the Summer Abroad application once you're accepted to the program. We also do a pre-departure orientation in mid-April, which will give you even more details about where you're going to be staying, how to get there. Your on-site coordinator will be there at the session to meet you. It will be online, similar to this one. So we recommend you attend that. And in addition, we create an online student guide, which is very specific to each program. So you will have access to the online student guide while you're on site, as well as beforehand to prepare for your program. And just a few words about accessibility abroad. So if you do require accommodations similar to ones you would have on campus, you should register with your campus accessibility services office so that an accommodation plan can be put into place for you. The letter of accommodation should be uploaded into your application within 7 days of being admitted to the Summer Abroad program. And we will send a reminder when you're admitted that if you do have an accessibility letter, you will need to upload it within 7 days. And we cannot guarantee that the sites are necessarily able to offer all of the same accommodations that are available at U of T. So for that reason, we encourage you to reach out to the Summer Abroad office and to discuss what needs you may have and how we can best accommodate them. So in order to do that, we have a designated program coordinator who is in charge of accessibility as well as equity, diversity, and inclusion. And she is more than happy to meet with you. You can set up an appointment. You can email her to talk to her about the process, either of getting your accessibility letter or to find out maybe which programs, which countries might be most appropriate for you based on your requirements. We've also put together quite a few resources. Here's just a screenshot from the website. We encourage you to look at the EDI and accessibility link. There are resources for various student communities, really helping all students to feel included and to have the best possible experience they can abroad. And there's a lot of material there for you to read through. That includes site-specific EDIA resources. So because the countries are so different, there's a lot of different factors to consider. There are cultural nuances, there are differences in infrastructure and facilities. So we have information on the website about that as well, which is based on our specific countries. And finally, we also have a Summer Abroad EDI Award. This was new, I believe, last year may have been the first year that we had it. If you check our website, there's some great stories there from people who received the award and were able to participate in the program thanks to the award. So we encourage you to look into that award as well, in addition to the financial aid awards that we offer. And one last word before we conclude our presentation today. If you haven't already, you should check us out on Instagram. Our students do incredible posts about their experiences in the summer. There's all kinds of stuff on there. We also have on our website student stories where you can see students who've even written short essays about their experience and have provided pictures. There's videos, lots of ways for you to find out how these programs are enriching to students. So I encourage you to check our Instagram. And just finally to highlight other ways that you can get in touch. So of course, check our website and do check it for updates. Also feel free to book an appointment with me about the program or about any aspect of the application that you want to discuss further. You can also reach us by email anytime. So we encourage you to get in touch if you have any questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate all of you coming out. As I mentioned, the recording will be posted on our website within a couple of days, so you can refer back to it, or please feel free to send the link to some friends or family who may be interested. And of course, reach out if you have any questions. Also, if you have any questions for our professor, you can send them to me and I can forward them on to him if you have any academic concerns as well. So again, thank you. Thank you, Selena, for handling the Q&A. Thank you, Professor Cortinois, for joining us today and talking about your course. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I wish you all the best of luck with your applications. Take care.